Frieza is going to fight BROLY, who is capable of evolving during the fight to prove he is stronger even than Gogeta himself. At least at that time, we don't know his current level. Anyway, Frieza will test his new powers. He who is unaware of Gohan Beast's new form goes after the only one he judges capable of being his equal, which is BROLY. Wants to understand everything? Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the bell. Black Frieza is the strongest currently, and that is undeniable. Although seeing Gohan in his current state with the beast form he still loses, you may say no, but Frieza finished Goku with a single blow. Gohan had to reach his limit to not lose consciousness at that moment, only then to break Goku's Ultra Instinct, which was incredible, but showing that Frieza is still above, because he hasn't shown his current limit yet. Well, I just wanted to emphasize this to give even more emphasis in today's video. Following this current power standard, Goku, Vegeta, and BROLY, Frieza already knows the power of both. At least he saw Goku and Vegeta at their peak and defeated them. But he doesn't know Gohan's current state, that is, the beast form, but he knows BROLY and knows about his capacity to evolve in a certain fight. So technically, who would he go after for a fight at this moment? If you answered BROLY, you are more than right, taking into account what we currently have of information about Frieza in his new form. Black Frieza is one of the most impactful and mysterious forms introduced in Dragon Ball Super so far. He appeared for the first time at the end of the Granola arc in the manga, emerging suddenly, and making it clear he had reached a new level of power that even Goku or Vegeta couldn't keep up with. The revelation of this form came after a long absence in the manga, which already indicated that Frieza was plotting something big behind the scenes, and indeed he was. He spent about 10 years training in a time room on a hidden planet, achieving this absurd feat without anyone, not even Whis or the gods of destruction, noticing. This form visually is similar to his traditional final form, but his body has a shiny black tone with dark golden details, giving him a much darker and more imposing look than Golden Frieza. He moves with cold confidence and absolute power, defeating Goku in his perfected Ultra Instinct form and Vegeta in Ultra Ego with just one strike each. This display of strength was not just to shock. It definitively established that Black Frieza had become the most powerful being known in the universe at that moment. Frieza reached this new power level without relying on divine energy, like Goku and Vegeta did. While Goku trained with angels to master Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta with the god of destruction Beerus to use Ultra Ego, Frieza simply isolated himself and improved his body with pure training and cold intelligence. This reinforces his nature as a classic villain and evil genius. He doesn't follow rules, doesn't respect limits, and only cares about his own growth, even if it takes decades. His new power suggests he can now rival or even surpass gods, becoming a threat on a completely different scale. Besides raw power, Black Frieza also demonstrates more emotional control. While his previous versions tended to act arrogantly or impulsively, this new incarnation seems much calmer, colder, and more strategic. He knows he is strong and uses that intelligently, waiting for the right moment to act. This makes him even more dangerous than before, because now he is not only powerful, but also patient. In his brief appearance, Frieza reveals he knows about the existence of Heater Elec and kills him with extreme ease, showing that he has full knowledge of the universe's movements and is several steps ahead of the others. Another curiosity is that the transformation into Black Frieza does not have a divine origin, but seems to be the pinnacle of biological evolution of his species, which raises the possibility that Frieza still has other dormant forms, or that this state is just the beginning of a new lineage of powers that do not follow the same paths as the Saiyans. Besides that, he is now building a new empire with armies and more loyal allies, and his return to the story's spotlight indicates he will probably be the big antagonist of the next anime or manga arc, with much bigger plans than just revenge or galactic domination. His presence also creates an interesting contrast with Goku and Vegeta, because while the two seek to surpass limits by honor, spiritual training, and personal growth, Frieza represents absolute coldness, progress through pure ambition, without ethics or moral breaks. He is the antithesis of the hero and now, more than ever, represents a real and unprecedented danger in the Dragon Ball universe. Everything indicates that Frieza will not just be the villain of one saga, but the new emperor of threats, maybe even challenging the gods themselves at some point, as hinted by Whis' words, which suggest the new warrior, who might surpass everything, might not even be Goku or Vegeta, but another, and maybe it is BROLY himself. And this fight is increasingly unfolding, Frieza versus BROLY. In theory, Broly is now learning to control himself. But what would he do if he fought Frieza? Would he control himself? What would happen if it actually occurred? Well, let's talk about Broly, how he would deal with all this, with a fight currently against Frieza. Since he is not the same who faced Goku, Vegeta, and Gogeta a long time ago, how would he deal with Frieza, who killed his father currently? Well, let's make this comparison. The fight between Broly and Gogeta was a true visual and energetic spectacle. But more than that, it was the perfect portrait of Broly's raw potential contrasted with the refined technique of the fusion. Broly entered that confrontation as an inexperienced warrior, moved only by instinct, and yet was able to cause real trouble for Gogeta, mainly in the beginning, when the difference between brute strength and technique was not yet clear. As the battle progressed, Gogeta raised the level of his transformation until reaching Super Saiyan Blue, and even so Broly kept fighting, screaming, resisting, evolving in real time. He didn't lose because he was weak, but because he didn't know how to control his strength, and because he faced an opponent who represented the perfect fusion of two of the greatest combat masters in the universe. That Broly at that moment was a wild storm, but still incomplete. Now imagine that same Broly facing Black Frieza. The scenario changes completely, because Frieza is a very different opponent from Gogeta. Frieza is not a warrior who plays fair, or who will measure forces directly. He is calculating, cruel, treacherous, and always has an escape plan. Against Gogeta, Broly was tested in direct combat, and lost due to lack of refinement. Against Frieza, the battle would be mental, strategic, psychological. Frieza would attack Broly's emotional weaknesses, trying to manipulate him like Paragus himself did, seeking to destabilize his mind and take advantage of it. But that's where the character's evolution comes in. Broly now is no longer that uncontrollable monster. After living with Chi-Lai, Limo, and training alongside Goku and Whis, he began to understand his body, his ki, his limits, and more importantly, his mind. He no longer transforms just because he's angry. He channels it, uses it as fuel. Of course, fury is still his energy source, but it's no longer the dominant factor. He knows how to breathe, retreat, resist madness. If Frieza tried to pressure him emotionally, he would probably be surprised to find a Broly who doesn't scream in pain, but smiles with contained rage, like a silent animal, before an attack. The current Broly, in a direct confrontation with Black Frieza, might not have a real chance to win, something few can say. Even if Frieza had the initial advantage due to the absurd speed and polished energy that Black offers, Broly adapts. But we don't know how much now that he is calmer. Maybe the progress is different, or maybe the shot would backfire on Frieza, and Broly would win. There's a wild card right there, folks. He doesn't need to see a technique twice to understand how it works. During combat, his body learns, responds better. And if Frieza thought the legendary Super Saiyan was the limit, he would see Broly surpass that limit right before his eyes. The same thing happened with Gogeta. Even losing, Broly kept growing. Frieza might not have time to deal with this constant growth. And more than strength, Broly now has something he never had: choice. He can choose to stop. He can choose not to kill. He can choose where to focus his attack, where to defend, when to release his energy. Before, fury possessed him. Now he possesses the fury. He uses it like a sword, and no longer like an uncontrolled bomb. This makes him more dangerous than before, because it's not just about blind destruction. He is a wild strategist, and if he learns during combat, then Frieza risks being figured out. Deep down, the difference between the fight against Gogeta and the possible fight against Black Frieza is that Gogeta fought to defeat Broly with minimal damage. He understood Broly was not an enemy, but a lost warrior. Frieza, however, would see Broly as a real threat to his dominion and would fight to eliminate him. But in this case, the more Frieza pressures, the more Broly would respond. And unlike before, now he would know the right moment to rage. It wouldn't be an emotional collapse. It would be a conscious trigger. He would understand that anger is his ally, not his enemy. Today's Broly might still not easily beat Black Frieza, but the battle would be long, brutal, and at least balanced. And if Frieza made the mistake of fighting like he fought Goku and Vegeta, underestimating, provoking, thinking himself invincible, he could come out seriously injured or even defeated, because Broly doesn't stop growing. And what was once an uncontrolled instinct is now a domesticated, but still wild animal. He might even tremble inside, but learn not to tremble outside. And for an opponent like Frieza, that's enough to turn a fight into a nightmare. Broly is one of the most powerful and complex characters in the entire Dragon Ball franchise, and his story has undergone major changes since his first appearance in the old movies up to his current version in Dragon Ball Super. Originally, BROLY was created in the non-canonical movies of the Z era as a Saiyan of legendary power who was born with a very high power level, which caused fear even in King Vegeta, leading to the attempt to execute him as a baby. However, he survived alongside his father Paragus, and grew with an irrational hatred for Goku caused by childhood trauma. This version was more focused on destructive instinct, being a practically irrational combat machine. But this incarnation was considered non-canon for a long time. The reintroduction of BROLY in the official universe came with the movie Dragon Ball Super BROLY, released in 2018, written by Akira Toriyama. In this new version, BROLY remains a Saiyan of exceptional power, but his story was reshaped. He is no longer a villain driven by senseless rage, but rather a naive and pure warrior, raised in a hostile environment and forced to fight for his father, Paragus, who manipulated him using a shock collar to keep his power under control. He was exiled as a baby to a hostile planet called Vampa, out of jealousy by King Vegeta, who could not stand seeing a baby with potential superior to his own son. Isolated, BROLY grew up in a wild environment, developing survival instincts and strength to absurd levels, which shaped his calm yet explosive personality. The new approach shows that BROLY is not evil by nature, but a victim of circumstances and his father's obsession. During the movie, he is brought by Frieza to fight Goku and Vegeta as part of the villain's plan. The ensuing fight reveals BROLY's true potential. He starts in his base form, but as the battle intensifies, his power grows uncontrollably. He surpasses the limits of a normal Super Saiyan, reaches a state similar to Super Saiyan Berserker or Legendary, and his power seems to increase indefinitely, to the point of putting Goku and Vegeta at a disadvantage even together. The most impressive thing about BROLY is his ability to adapt in combat. He learns and reacts in real time, evolving as he fights. This is a rare trait even among Saiyans, and sets him completely apart from other warriors. Goku and Vegeta have to fuse using the Metamor dance to form Gogeta. And even so, BROLY resists many of the fusion's attacks, showing that without any training, he is already close to the level of a divine warrior. At the end of the fight, BROLY is completely out of control and would be destroyed if not for Chi-Lai and Limo, who use the Dragon Balls to wish him back to planet Vampa. This saves his life and creates a new narrative path, where BROLY begins living in peace with his new friends. Goku, recognizing his potential, promises to train him in the future, opening the door to BROLY's real growth as a character and warrior. In the movie Superhero, BROLY reappears briefly, now training alongside Goku, Vegeta, and Whizon Beerus's planet. He shows more control over his power, but still struggles to control his emotions during combat, which is the central point of his development. Goku treats him with respect, and BROLY shows willingness to learn, still with a shy and introspective personality, but a pure heart. BROLY is considered by many to be the most powerful Saiyan that ever existed in raw terms. He is like a natural prodigy, without needing the divine transformations that Goku and Vegeta seek. His power comes from instinct and fury, but also from his unique lineage. Many believe BROLY is the legendary Super Saiyan mentioned in the legends, the one who appears once every 1,000 years. Although the title Legendary has been used before, in the case of the current BROLY, he really seems to carry that weight. His transformation with a green aura and colossal muscles is a unique version of the Super Saiyan, and may represent a new line of evolution among Saiyans. The absence of a tail is curious, since all pure-blooded Saiyans are born with one. In BROLY's case, it's possible Paragus removed his tail out of fear of the additional power it could unleash when transforming into Oozuru, since BROLY was already too strong without it. If he still had the tail, he might be able to even master the Oozuru transformation consciously, which would open the way for a form similar to Super Saiyan 4, something many fans would love to see become canon.